So, without further ado, hi, welcome to KanConf number 4, the mini conference series that helps you learn and continuously improve by bringing you industry experts on the subjects of lean, agile, and more. My name is Veronica, and as usual, it's my honor and privilege to be your host today. So, thank you for being here. Brief recap of our time together so far. KanConf number 1 was focused on the Agile methodology. During KanConf 2, we discussed the history and application of Lean. And during KanConf number 3, we talked about the responsibility process and leadership. If any of these topics are interesting to you, I invite you to visit our YouTube channel. The link will be posted in the chat, and you can watch the recordings. As always, we at Companies are dedicated to continuously improving this event, and we do this by experimenting. This time around, we are zooming in a bit closer to explore how what we've learned so far is applied in practice. To make this extra interesting, we've chosen to talk about the challenges and triumphs of applying lean methodologies like Kanban in pharma and biotech. Why these industries? Because they face really tough challenges, simply put, when it comes to regulatory restrictions, complex project portfolios, multiple steps of approval, a great deal of documentation, among others. So implementing changes in such industries is really tough, and we are tackling it head on today with real success stories of increased productivity, 7 to 8 digit cost savings, reduced waste of effort, and more. You can count on us to invite an incredible set of panelists who will help us explore this topic from 3 unique points of view, as they have very different backgrounds, but a similar focus, namely, how can we continually improve the management of complex project work in this field? So joining us for the opening of this event, we introduce Dr. Marina Papalexi, a UK-based scientist with multiple publications in prestigious international journals. She's also a lecturer in operations and project management at Manchester Metropolitan University Business School. Her expertise is related to operations management improvement strategies, supply chain optimizations, and innovation in delivery processes, especially those that have been characterized as highly complex. We also welcome Martin Michalin from Slovenia. Martin is a trusted lean consultant with a passion for optimizing performance. With a background in the field of automation and biomedical engineering, he has been involved in designing complex systems in biotechnology, medical space, AI, genome sequencing software, among others, as if those were not enough. Last but not least, all the way from Mexico, we have Juliet Pedraza and Juan Jose Burjon, 2 Lean Six Sigma certified master black belts, who have helped companies like yours save millions in increased production and production control, helping them increase productive capacity by 30% without changing their human or technical resources. Elliot is an industrial engineer who's worked with over 70 companies in pharmaceuticals, automotive, food, logistics, and other industries. And Juan Jose is a biochemical engineer currently working as a continuous improvement manager at a pharma company with hundreds of employees together with Elliot. They will tell you all about that in just a few minutes. So I'm not going to spoil it. So yes, I know that the first edition of KanConf for 2023 is a little bit late. I know that, but trust me when I say we take extra care in selecting our speakers, and that takes time. It takes time to find quality ones. So the important thing is that we are finally here. And before we get the show on the road, a few quick logistical or administrative notes. First, the session will be recorded and posted on YouTube, as all the rest have been. We will take questions in the second half of the event after our speakers have had an opportunity to share their experience and results with you. Please submit your questions using the Q&A button below, not the chat, because if you put them in the chat, then we might miss them. We have this awesome tradition of creating a networking train that you guys, our audience, actually invented yourself. So we love it and we continue encouraging it. So if you want to connect with each other, which you should because our KanConf audience is always top tier, then share a link to your LinkedIn account in the chat at any time and connect. I also take this opportunity to thank the Project Management Institute Bulgaria for supporting this event. All chapter members can claim their PDUs using the link we are posting in the chat right now. We will post it multiple times because it might get buried in all the LinkedIn account posts. And finally, please help us make this event even more successful by filling out the survey that will pop up on your screen at the end of this meeting. All right, folks. That's it. That's it for me. Now we can get to the good part. So, Dr. Pepalexi, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. You're an author of a book on lean thinking. You've published chapters in 7 books and authored multiple journal articles on topics like pharmaceutical management innovation, key sources of operational inefficiency, and one that particularly caught my eye, a case study of Kanban implementation within the pharmaceutical supply chain. So based on your research, on your multiple years of research, what are the key sources of operational inefficiency in the pharmaceutical supply chain?
First of all, I would like to thank everyone to attend this session today, and I'm sure that it's going to be fantastic and very interesting discussions and questions later on. Thank you, Veronica, for the introduction and the questions as well. So yes, this is an area that is very fascinating. It's a research topic that it's still topical, and there are too many veins to still investigate. But to answer your question, so pharmaceutical supply chain is one of the most complex one comparing to the industrial one or other industries supply chain. Why? First of all, think about the products that we use within the pharmaceutical supply chain. The products itself, so they are very difficult to manage because they influence our health, the patient's health, and also they are very they influence the environment as well. So consider the expiry date of the pharmaceutical products, and also how we can dispose those products. What is the damage that we produce, we generate to our environment if we don't manage them correctly? So first of all, one of the complex areas of this pharmaceutical supply chain is the project itself. And also then, so a big problem is how we manage the waste. How we manage the waste throughout the pharmaceutical supply chain, consider how many stakeholders are involved within the pharmaceutical supply chain as well. So consider the communication between those stakeholders and to what extent we can make some products and those products are expired, so we cannot use them anymore. Or how we store those products. Some of them, they need to be stored in a fridge. So this is a cold supply chain, as we call it. We cannot ensure their quality, and we cannot reuse them for another reason. So again, we need to waste them. We need to manage the waste process when we speak about pharmaceuticals. Then, another big issue related to that is we cannot predict the demand. We cannot control the demand. We cannot predict it. When we don't have a great control of it, we cannot predict, we cannot manage ahead. That's a big issue because, again, perhaps sometimes we cannot apply some innovative approaches that are applicable to other areas, to other sectors. Then we need to consider the cultural inertia. So to what extent the stakeholders that are involved in the pharmaceutical supply chain are happy to apply any innovative approaches such as lean or Kanban, as we discussed here. So, as I said, we need to think about the culture, and we need to think about the culture of the people that are involved in this pharmaceutical supply chain. We speak about pharmacists, doctors, even pharmaceutical companies that they produce the products that sometimes are reluctant to change, or they are not aware of any innovative approaches that they can apply. And then, of course, they might have limited money to invest in order to change things. So I do believe that the main areas that we need to focus, the main areas or the main issues are economical issues. Then you have some regulations related to pharmaceuticals products, that what you can use and what you are not able to use. So you need to think about regulations as well. And then, as I said, to summarize, it's waste management, relationship management, and communication, and the culture of stakeholders that we need to consider when we speak about pharmaceutical supply chain.
Thank you. Thank you for this exhaustive answer. And what do you think that there are reasons why a lean method, like Kanban, for example, could potentially work to alleviate some of those challenges?
I do believe so. First of all, lean is something that it's related. It's not an innovation for this specific sector, for this specific area. It's an innovation for pharmaceutical supply chain, because in some areas they're quite new. So it can be considered as innovation. It's not an innovation for manufacturing, kind of manufacturing, but the pharmaceutical supply chain still is an innovation. So yes, it can be applicable and it can mitigate most of those challenges. So if we start about thinking about the investment that we need to apply, we need to have in place in order to apply an innovation, lean and specifically Kanban doesn't need any specific money in order to apply. It does need to have a better control. It does need to know your system. It does need to have a good communication skills. It does need to have a great relation between the stakeholders in order to be applicable as well. So the first thing that we need to consider is to understand what are the requirements and also to persuade the people that this is a good thing to do. Right? Because by applying lean, by applying Kanban specifically, we can manage our inventory, which means that we can mitigate, we can minimize the waste, we can protect the environment, we can control the demand. So our patient will be happy because they're going to have the required products on time. And also we can ensure that those products, we use 100% of those products and we don't waste them. Of course, I can continue with how we can apply Kanban, but I don't know if this is something that we would like to explore further.
For the companies that are not convinced, what do you think that, and based on your observations, what are some of the opportunities that they're missing out on by continuing with the status quo and not implementing these types of improvements?
Yeah, there's always an option to do nothing about it, and we don't improve the systems, we don't improve the efficiency. So what that means? So it means that we still have a very complex system. It means that consider a hospital, for example, where there are different wards in the hospital, and the pharmaceutical, the hospital pharmacy needs to deliver the medicines, and speaking from doctors, and then it goes to nurses, for example. There are different areas that we store the medicines, and what happens at the end? Once a month, we go and check if everything works well or not. And what is the output? There are too many medicines that are expired. And this is waste. And this is waste of money. This is waste of products. This is something that we generate damage to the environment and to our patients. So by doing nothing, implementing innovation, lean or another type of innovation, we still continue to work in this inefficiency and high complex system.
Mm-hmm. And in that case, what would be your recommendation for medium to large pharma or similar companies when they evaluate how to manage their projects, when they evaluate a new method? What should they look for to avoid, or what should they look for, or should they look to avoid when aiming to be optimally efficient?
So the first thing that the companies need to do is to understand their systems. They need to understand what are the source, what is where the waste is generated from. Once they identify that, then they need to understand what is the innovation, what is the system, what is the approach that they need to apply that is suitable for their system, for their organization in order to mitigate, to deal with this type of waste. Because when you deal with waste, automatically you can save some money and you can satisfy your customers, your patients in this particular case. So the first thing that the companies need to do is to understand their systems and identify where the waste comes from.
And I'm going to give people, some of our audience members, an opportunity to ask you a few questions, but I just have one last one. What are some of since a lot of your research focuses on innovation, what are some innovations that you think are overlooked that could actually have really great impact?
So yes, Lean has been researched a lot, and sometimes specifically in healthcare and pharmaceutical supply chain, it doesn't seem that it's an area or an innovation or an approach, as I said, that it's an option. Sometimes in some areas, specifically in the USA, they are more familiar with Lean and more familiar with Kanban. But there are other countries that are reluctant to apply it. Why? Because they are not aware of it. So the first thing that we need to do is to educate people in order to apply innovation. So Lean is it is a good option, but at the same time, Lean with another type of innovation such as Industry 4.0 or blockchain is going to be a solution. It's a future research for pharmaceutical supply chain, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your exhaustive answers. Do we have any audience members who have questions? So, for example, I just see one in the chat. Although please use the Q&A button, not the chat, to ask you questions, because I will miss them by mistake. It's okay, Taz. I got you. I see it. Taz asks, so I want to be clear, is the waste removal focused on local optimization or at higher levels?
So what is the question then?
Maybe Taz could give us a bit more context.
Yeah, perhaps.
Let's see. You could, I'm giving permission to talk, so you could actually unmute yourself and ask out loud if it's easier that way.
If the question is if the first step is to minimize the waste in order to optimize systems, yes, that's correct. So we need to understand the system and minimize the waste. By minimizing the waste, Lean, what is Lean? Lean is about to have a clean environment, so you understand where are the inefficiencies. When you understand where there are inefficiencies, then you can minimize the waste. This is the first step to optimize systems. It makes everything perfectly correct at the beginning.
My understanding of the question is that it's is it local or is it at higher, broader levels? So is it team level or higher? Yeah, that's the question.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a team at the team level. We need to communicate and we need to have a team effort in order to be able to minimize the waste. Did that answer the question?
We have comments. It should be on every level. Any other, I mean, do you disagree that it should be at every other level? Would your stance be that it should be only at the team level that waste is minimized?
Sorry, Veronica, can you say that again?
My question was, do you think that it's only at the team level that waste should be minimized, or would you agree that it should happen at every level?
what's the difference between every level and the team level? What I said, it's should be in every level in the organization, but should be a team effort.
Oh, I see. Okay. So the difference between the level at which the waste is reduced and the effort of the actual team by team. If we're talking of a big team comprised of smaller teams.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So to clarify, every part of an organization needs to work on it, and this needs to be to become as a team effort. It cannot be, sometimes we say in order to apply something, it needs to be to start from the leadership. That's not applicable for me. It needs to be involved. Everyone needs to be involved in order to successfully apply Lean and Kanban.
Do we have any other questions? Q&A. No questions in our Q&A. No questions in our chat so far. So 5 more seconds. And if not, we will move on to having Martin share his experiences. So I don't see any other questions. Last few seconds. No takers. Okay. Thank you so much, Marina, for joining us. We really appreciate you sharing your research findings with us. And it's been a pleasure having you. I know that we had you in a time crunch to be able to participate today. So it's unfortunate that you won't be able to stay with us for the entire event, but it's been really great having you.
Unfortunately, I cannot stay, as you said. It's my pleasure to be part of it. And of course, if there is any other questions that's raised from the audience, I'm very happy to answer them later on. If you can share it with me.
It says Timothy Williams seems to have a question. Besides value stream mapping, what other tools or techniques can we use to discover and thus eliminate waste?
So value stream mapping is a good start in order to, again, have a great view of the system that you use and, again, identifying the waste. Other tools are, for example, when we speak about Kanban, if you want me to focus on Kanban, we need to think about the demand. We need to think about the products that we are using. And one system to use is the Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis is a classification of products where we can identify what are the best candidates to be involved in Kanban. And then once we have them, then we can have some inventory policies. So what are the inventory policies? For how many days we can hold specific product in order to be able to meet the customer or the patient needs. So there are different systems that we can use. Value stream map is not really applicable here in the pharmaceutical supply chain, but in other industries, of course, it is. But specifically for Kanban, I would say we need to start with using Pareto analysis in order to understand what are the candidates for Kanban. Not all products are good candidates for Kanban, and I'll give you an example. For example, a very on-demand pharmacies and perhaps very expensive pharmacies are not good candidates for Kanban. We cannot store medicines such as cancer medicines because they are very expensive and they are specific for, we order them specifically for specific patients. So we don't store them. Those are not good candidates for Kanban system. But there are 70% of the products, the pharmaceutical products that we use within the pharmaceutical supply chain are good candidates for Kanban, and this is very successful, if you like.
Great. I believe that answers that question. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So Timothy says thank you. You're welcome, Timothy. Okay. So let's use this as a point to shift gears and we'll move on to having Martin McKillen. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But before I do that, I just wanted to see if, Marina, you had any last words or any last thoughts that you wanted to share.
The last thing that I would like to share with you is that we need to focus, the big words here now, it's sustainability, and we need to create systems that they are resilient. So we need to think about COVID, we need to think about the external risks and how we can mitigate those external risks. So lean is one solution, and if it has been successfully applied, it has great benefits. So something to consider, something to discuss perhaps later on. So keywords for me is focus on sustainability and resilience in systems. Have a great session, and of course, I'm happy to have other discussions in the future. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Marina.
Bye.
Okay, Martin, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Martin. So I'm coming from a biotech company. So I'll present you a little bit of what are kind of challenges that we have in our company, how we are solving them, what are some existing challenges that we need to solve in the future, maybe some successes and so on. I think most of the learnings and ideas that I'll showcase are applicable to any company and also in any kind of domain or industry you are. But there are some specifics to the biotech side as well. So let me just share my screen. Is it okay?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, perfect. So I'm coming from a company called the Gym Planet. So we are a biotech company dealing with different products from Slovenia, Europe. We're on a market for over 14 years, and we are present in 35 different countries. And I'll spend like 1 minute, not to showcase our company or products or anything, but just so you understand what kind of things we're building, so you'll also understand maybe the challenges we have, and it's going to be a little bit more easy to understand. So basically, our core products are so-called home DNA tests, meaning we basically send you a kit. You can do a swab or send us a little bit of your saliva, and then we do some analysis on that. You have an app, and you can see your genetic predispositions to like smoking or to your nutrition, to the sports and so on. There's also the My Ancestry part, so you know where your ancestors are coming from. And we also deal with more medical tests. So we do prenatal testing for pregnant women, we do cancer screens, we do blood testing and so on. And a lot of these products are then integrated into a digital environment. And most of the tests that we do, we are doing it with a whole genome sequencing. So this is a little bit more expensive way of testing, but we analyze whole of your genome, meaning we just need to do one test in your lifetime, and then we can basically build new products or give you more analysis on a daily basis. And that's actually what we do. So you also need to basically, some unique challenges that we have is that we have to keep up with regulations and different certificates, where you basically build a product once, but you constantly upgrade it, and then some parts are not changing. Let's say the kit and the collection methods, but some other parts, like the software part, is changing constantly. But you also have to basically be in line with all the regulations, which can be very slow. So it's quite a unique challenge. And to give you an idea, this is, for example, how the application looks like, and you can get these genetic predispositions. This is more lifestyle kind of analysis, and then you also have a little bit more hardcore analysis about your health, about your cancer risks, where you're, and again, the My Ancestry that I mentioned, probably most of you know the 23andMe company, so this is a little a similar product. We also do more, as I kind of mentioned, more medical tests, so we do pharmacogenetics. This means we analyze your DNA, and then we can figure out which drugs you metabolize better or worse? Should you change some dosage? So should you change the drug altogether? Find alternatives. And then we work with different hospitals, clinics, and doctors all around the world to basically find the better approach, better therapy. And to do that, to fuel this research, to figure out what our users want, how to generate new products, we of course rely a lot on analytics and building our own data warehouse, which helps us figure out the user needs, but also like the problems present in the space. We use some custom AI models as well, but all of that then resonates in the whole process being very, very complex. And because we are basically dealing with the whole product process, meaning the whole cycle from ideation to building it and then to deliver it to the end customers. And this means everything from having our own laboratories, our own R&D team. We have everything in-house, meaning we have our own laboratories. We do the kits, we send those out, so we deal with logistics. And of course, we deal with software development that then presents you these results either to the doctor or to the end customer as a patient. So we really want to be lean and efficient in this process. And I know probably all of you know that there are a gazillion different frameworks and tools you can use. And I'm not a proponent on one or the other. I've actually been working with Crystal and Scrumban and Scrum and Kanban and everything else in between. But in my experience, different processes, different companies, different domains require some different frameworks and tools. So in our company, we basically started with Scrum, and I'm saying now more about the software development part of it, not so much about maybe the R&D or the logistics part or the warehouse part, which is traditionally more suited to, let's say, Kanban. But the software development, you want to be up to the times, and everybody does Scrum. So in our company, the Scrum was done in multiple kind of ways. For some time, it was done in Jira, then it was done in Asana. And what we basically figure out that we have really basically a gazillion problems by doing the Scrum that we were doing it. And I was in previous company, we were doing Scrum very successfully. But in our case, because we do everything from R&D all the way to deliver those features to the end customers, but we also do white label applications and we do support for our sister companies. You have so many different methods of work, so many different products in so many different stages that we just didn't have the complete bird's eye view of what's happening in the company. So what you can see right now on the screen is basically two different sprints managed in Asana. And what I've colored is basically how it looked like. So from one sprint to the next, we were basically pushing all the work because we couldn't finish it because the estimations were not correct. And in some cases, the third sprint, we were already carrying work from 4, 5, or 6 sprints ago. So we were basically carrying work that should be done 3 months ago, but we were still projecting it to be done in this current sprint. So what kind of our process looks like, more like a backlog of ideas that we wanted to do rather than some kind of optimized flow. And then, as I said, when you start to incorporate different sister companies, different methods of operations and products and all of that, just basically it's a havoc. So we observed a lot of difficulties, but mostly it was done with a transparency and bird's eye view, but also with more specific software problems, like we were doing cherry picking, meaning we were picking out just 2 or 3 items that we wanted to deliver because we couldn't deliver the others because they were in different stages. So our release plans at the end of the sprints were not really release plans, right? So a lot of other problems as well, but the estimation, the transparency, the bird's eye view, this was the main problems. So we basically implemented end-to-end Kanban flow here. And as I said, different companies, different frameworks. I'm not rooting for one or the other, but in our case, we started with a very simple Kanban board. and then we basically extended this to quite a complex end-to-end Kanban flow. And what I mean by end-to-end, meaning that at the bottom, if you look at the bottom right, we have this system Kanban, meaning that we identified, and that's what Marina was already saying, that we identified where the waste is, which are the stages that produce the value, which are the stages that do not produce the value. So like queues where we wait for some additional information or some meetings or whatever it is. And then we mapped all those flows. And in the end, you'll see that we have over 30 different stages, different columns that the development works goes through, right? So this is a system Kanban, and the right horizontal line presents the commitment point from where the tasks go into flow and being through the workflow to be done. But we also did the upper part of the Kanban flow, more the upstream part, where we're trying to synthesize the ideas, filter them from different areas, from different departments inside a company. So you have one idea from the sales guys today, and then you have another idea from the marketing guys tomorrow. And the problem is how to limit this flow and how to filter those ideas so they do not start clogging up the ready to work stage before you commit to it. So we separated those idea synthesis and analysis parts, and then we also did the preparation phase as well. And then above that, we have projects, and then we have separate management boards that I will show as well. So we actually achieved really good transparency. And what we achieved also is, I think, was the major change was, of course, from being at the stage of the company where we were pushing all the work to the developers, to the research and development team, but now we were just preparing, filtering, and optimizing those ideas that they are ready for execution, but then they were pulling the work across the red horizontal line that you see when they are ready to work on it. So we, of course, we were using all the tools from the Kanban, like work in progress limits, to do that, but it really influenced and created the done culture in our company, rather from pushing as many tasks as possible, right? So this is how, for example, looks our biggest board right now, and it's over 40 different stages at the bottom, and then you have the apex and the projects above and all the filtering and review stages, and we push hundreds of tasks every few days through it, and of course we use a bunch of other ideas there, from exit rules to automation to everything else, so that we don't spend a lot of time managing this, but rather that we can optimize and visualize the flow. So, and we did this across the company. We're not done yet, and it's harder in some departments than the others. Marketing, for example, is a department that's a little bit harder to do that because they have a little bit different ways of working. But in R&D, for example, the software development part, the operations, the packaging, everything else basically is already in Kanban flows, and most of them are really nicely connected between them. So from the biotech perspective, there are some limitations, not really limitations, but extra hurdles that you need to go through. For us, I would say those are 4 different things that we are now improving with the Kanban. So the first thing is that we introduce special review stages for legal compliance and so on, which in the old ways, there are really thousands of ways that some task or something could slip by the legal team or compliance because somebody somehow thought that this is not required check. Because we're working in a highly regulated environment, now we have required review stages by the legal and compliance team, right? And there are many ways on how to do that. I don't have time to go in details there, but you're free to ask, of course. But this is an important thing. So another important thing is we need to comply with different things like IVDR, the new European regulation for medical devices, and for example, keeping up with our certificates like ISO 27001. So in some cases, we actually replaced our documentation with the Kanban tool, right? So we are of course also using on Kanbanize, and we use Kanbanize basically to link and send it basically to review to regulators instead of documentation projects, and it worked really well. So basically, we reduced a lot of time to keep up with different documents, and we say, no, look, we manage the whole process and the whole flow here. Here you have your templates. Here you have the different specifications. Here is how we map the bottlenecks, etc., and we submitted this. And it was successful. So we are actually optimizing the submission, the documentation part as well. We also have specific R&D boards where the R&D work is done before basically it's introduced in any other flows. And the fourth thing is we have multi-tier management approval. So we approve everything from company goals to half-year deliverables to bigger projects. We don't want to micromanage the bottom parts, but when something that's highly regulated comes into the idea stage, it goes through multi-tier approvals, which also is something that's really easy to do in a tools that supports nice Kanban flow. So the important part, of course, is then how you figure out what's working and what's not, to basically eliminate waste. So this is what I'm showing here is one of the earliest reports we have. So our numbers are now thankfully much better. But we are looking anything from cycle times, which you see on your left. So how on average how long the tasks last that when they're coming into the flow and we start working on them until they finish, right? So we can look at that and we are sure, okay, we can complete. We are 90% sure that we can complete any task in less than 7 days, right? And then we can filter down depending on the project, depending on the team, depending on the compliance requirements and so on. And we can fine tune this to give quick estimates and answers to management teams as well. We're also looking at bottlenecks, and we are breaking down by products, by teams as well, which you see on the right. We're looking at our throughput. So how many tasks can we do per day, or we're looking at how long some tasks are being held. So do we have tasks that are there for 2 months and nobody's moving them or nobody's checking on them, or we forgot to do another check or another review? So we're using analytics tools like the aging work in progress graph that you see on the right. And of course, our most useful thing is your cumulative flow diagram, where we can quickly see if one of the stages is showcasing any problems, we have any delays or anything. And this works for R&D part, this works for marketing, for software development as well. So we have a lot of problems, but we also have some successes. And for example, we improved our flow efficiency quite a lot, meaning that when we started, we spent only 8% of our time actually working on something. So that's whether it's the development or packaging or whatever it is, to now being over 30%, meaning that 70% of time, of course, you spend on reviews, on collaborations, on waiting for the capacity and so on. But this is we are basically more than 3 times as effective in actually doing the work, so adding the value than what we were when we started. We also reduce cycle times. We are 5 times faster to resolve bottlenecks and so on. So what I want to say is basically the analytics part is where we are figuring out which waste and at which point we should eliminate. Doing the switch was not easy, of course. This was almost like a year-long project, but we started slow and we built it up. So what you see is basically evaluation of 1 year of work. And we, of course, first had to convince the management team. And to do that was not so hard as we thought, but we basically introduced special management boards for top-tier company goals and must-win battles and everything else that we have on a strategy level. And said that this will basically give them the most complete view to the whole company, right? And we also added specific review stages. So it never happens that something doesn't go through review. And also anybody from the top tier in the company can first look at the top level goal, but can drill down to a specific task. And that kind of drill down bird's eye view was what basically was a no-brainer to convince the whole company to switch. And of course, to switch to convince employees, software developers, and so on, basically when you say you're moving from from push to pull, so that they will be able to start the work when they have the capacity, when they know they can finish it, rather than us pushing them the work. This was all. This is the only thing that basically you need to say, right? And then everything else, like visualizing the bottlenecks and seeing what other departments do, is all just an add-on. So this is basically quick overview of what we were doing, and there's a lot other things that we can talk about. But from my experience, this is kind of what I'm showing now on the screen is what we are focusing even today, and I think what's most important for us. So we to focus on the commit and deliver part, to manage the flow, discover the bottlenecks, to have all those tools at your hand, to also understand that not all work is the same. So we are heavy proponents of using classes of services and types and teams and different boards that you can connect together, and also to be very, very specific with your collaboration policies. So everybody needs to know when it's their time, what to do next, when should they move something, and of course, all the different like filters and automatizations and notifications, all of that kind of helps you. Whichever tool you use, doesn't matter if it's Kanban or something else, but most serious tools use those collaboration policies, and that's really important to use. And of course, work in progress limits, which is one of the hardest things to nail. I think all of you agree that if you try to implement that on a company-wide level, it's very hard. But it's also one of the important things to figure out, and basically have overburden protection. And of course, feedback loops, which we use kind of a mixture of some things from Agile, some things from just what fits into our work, and we have multiple tier replenishment meetings and so on. So I think this is the important thing I want to say. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit over my time, but just wanted to showcase.
That's okay. We would make room for this implementation to see light of day, because you truly did a tremendous job. And just in case that some of the metrics were not clear, you can definitely ask your questions in the Q&A. But to clarify, because we did have a question, the company that Martin works for is called Gene Planet.
Yeah.
And the software used and the screenshots were taken from Kanban. So all of the features, all of the analytics and reports that you've seen in this presentation were Kanban.
Yes.
Yeah. Needed to be said.
I mean, as I kind of explained the analytics part, and of course, I didn't even touch the simulations and what you can do to estimate your work. But we are talking a lot about eliminating waste, and then it's hard to visualize that and figure out where the bottlenecks are. So I think even if you start with very, very simple flows, if you have the tool that helps you analyze this, this is going to be the most important part, because people a lot of times start putting the Kanban flows. For example, I'm talking about now the Kanban frameworks, putting in the flows that they think is hypothetically going to be the perfect for their company. But it's so much better to just replicate what you have right now and figure out, is there any other stages that we usually spend some time in it, and then use analytics to figure out, is this action a bottleneck, or is it just I thought it's a bottleneck, and then you can remove stages when you revisit your boards and so on.
Thank you so much. I will, before we give the stage to Heliot and Juan Jose, just a quick question in the Q&A about the structure. What was the structure implemented in your company to make this implementation possible? Any lessons learned on what is the optimal structure?
So I don't know if the question is about the structure of the Kanban, or I'm not really sure. So if you're talking about the structure of the Kanban boards, is basically what I said. We first spent, probably it was 3 to 4 weeks, just talking with different teams. And this is also what Marina was basically saying, identifying your waste, right? So we're just basically sitting down with different teams, with R&D team, with developers and so on, and figuring out what exactly they do. So we force them to draw on the wall, because we have those whiteboard walls, to draw the whole process and say, okay, I do this, then I ask this person this, then I check with this, and then sometimes I need to do this legal check, and so on and so on. So we just basically sat down with people for a month straight to figure out what they do, and then we mapped this into a Kanban flow, and then we said, where are the common things that you do multiple times, and then we saw then we mapped out what are the exceptions, and then we basically put in the boards where we find we constructed the boards where we figure out the flow is more or less the same, with some exceptions. Of course, there are always exceptions. And then we created all the different boards for all of the process in the company, and that's how we started it. And then we also started creating the templates, so that we forced people to put in some information that they need. We started doing we wrote an MO document, so modus operandi document, so that everybody knows what to do at which stages, and then we implemented that into the tool, in our case, Kanban.
Thank you. That's a really good presentation. Well done. Okay, so I'm gonna allow for some questions to pile up in the Q&A. Just we'll get to them. Just give us your questions using the Q&A button and not in the chat, please. Okay, so Elliot and Juan Jose, if you could please give us a brief run through your experience in the company, because both of you have worked or are currently working in the same pharmaceutical company. So give us a little bit of a background on that, some context.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Juan Jose Borjón Garcia, biochemical engineer and master degree in value chain management. Well, I currently work as manager of continuous improvement engineering products pharmaceuticals. I have been a professional in pharmaceutical industry for 20 years, but well, different roles: production manager, planning logistic manager, warehouse manager. About since 3 years, I was assigned the implementation of the Lean Six Sigma methodology in the organization, but Aguascalientes plant, Mexico City plant, and Bogota, Colombia plant. This experience accompanied with the Lean Six Sigma Institute, working on Hat and Hub, while my friend Elliot Pedraza will tell you more about this task in my organization. Thanks, Elliot.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Well, hello to everybody. My name is Elliot Pedraza, as Jose and Veronica introduced myself. Well, just I'm gonna give you a little introduction how Jose and me we started to work around 3 years ago in this way of implementing. We know everybody have listened about Lean and Six Sigma. Well, let's see, continuous improvement, a system where the point, it's to improve. It depends, of course, it depends of the company. What do you want to improve now? The culture. Everybody in the world, or at least in my experience, want to improve the culture of your people. It doesn't matter the first level, second level, third level. It doesn't matter. Okay. Of course, maybe you have you want to improve the cost. You want to increase the utilities of your company, the time, the quality. It depends. Okay, it depends of every company. But in this case, I'm going to share my screen. I would like to share the story how we started this way to implementing in Chinoin. Chinoin is the name of this company. It's located here in Mexico. And Lean Six Sigma Institute is the firm that I represent. My role is Master Black Belt. Juan Jose is Master Black Belt. It means just that I have been implementing Lean Six Sigma around 10 years, not just pharmaceutical, other kind of industries. So I think that's give a huge vision of the behavior of the companies. No, that's what I start to say, that it depends what the company wants. Okay. Well, it's a Mexican company, over 1,070 employees. Yeah, China is in the top of the pharma companies in Mexico. Believe me, it's not any kind of company. So, well, I would like to share the reason Chinoin start or say, let's start with this methodology, with this philosophy, or with these tools. No, maybe we have different ways to understand this lean. No, so Chinoin wasn't in a crisis. No, the point was that they wanted to improve. They have so much waste of money. Okay. No problems with new inventions of the new machines. No problem. That was no problem. They wanted to have a culture of improvement. Yeah, they wanted to improve the culture of the people. So that's the way was born this idea to implement Lean Six Sigma, to say it. Okay, so in this on this plan, yeah, we have during these 3 years, we have, like we call it, phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Well, a key points, I would like to share some key points if you want to have success in this results that you're waiting for in your company. You know, Martin and Marina talked about the value stream map. Somebody asked about the value stream map. And I always say there are tools, okay? There are tools that are going to help you to improve something that is coming from the top managers. It depends, okay? The point is, what are you expecting to improve now? So the first point the company was very important is the commitment of the director of the owners. How does this work? It means that they say, okay, continuous improvement is going to get into the company, and it's not a project. This is not a project. This is a new philosophy that the people must be working on. No? Of course, when you say people have to make a mindset, well, it takes time. No, it's not just 1 year. No, it takes a time. And the way we can change this way to understand the process is to train and practice, or practice with real problems on your company. Okay. So first of all, as Lean Six Sigma Institute, we ask this: you have to be commitment with this project, with this new way of working. Okay. Then it's pretty important to assign a person in charge of this method, of this model we are going to implement now. In this case, is Juan Jose Borjon. No, they say, well, Juan Jose, you're going to be the leader of this implementation. Perfect. And then they say, Elliot, we want that you train Juan Jose in these levels. Maybe you have heard about it: yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and master black belt. Okay. It means in fact, I was very glad to train Juan Jose, no, on these 3 levels or 4 levels. And something very interesting: we train in every level, and then we practice the tools. Not all the tools. It depends on the problems that we have in maybe production areas, support areas. It depends. So we started to understand the theory and how does the tools work. Okay. I always say too, the tools, something is theory and the real process, it changes, and it doesn't matter. The point is to resolve the problem. But if you understand the concept of the tools, it will go very good. Okay. So that's the phase 0. Okay. Then we come with something pretty important. we have always natural resistance to the change in any company. It's normal, okay? But it's not managers, the leaders, the supervisors, the person who is working on the process. It doesn't matter. But something pretty important is that the managers must be training not in all the methodologies like yellow, green, or black. No, it's not necessary. They only have to understand what it's all about, Lean and Six Sigma. They are like the stakeholders. They have to facilitate all the resources, not to be and stop to make new improvement in the process. We understand that here in the pharma industry, about all the documentation, all the regulatory, it's something that is not as fast as we wanted to implement new changes, because we have to validate by documentation, and it's okay, but not to stop, and the stop many times comes from managers. Okay, so it's pretty important that they understand what it's about Lean Six Sigma. Then of course they can get trained on these all levels. Okay, but this is an strategy. Okay, look at this like an strategy from Lean Six Sigma and the top of the managers of this company. Then we come with the implementation in productive areas. I mean, solid capsules, tablets that you all is producing in these areas. And one mission, the focus was to increase capacity and reduce the cost products in the main products, not in all the area. No, just in the main products. What I mean is the one of two or three products, the best sellers of this company. We are going to focus just in these products. Why? I think it's very important because sometimes we start to make projects of improve any other areas, and no, there's no sense. You have to focus just what you are expecting to resolve. Okay, so then the second step was make a diagnostics of this area. No, and when I mean a diagnostics, of course, we talk about waste, okay? If I say cost, waste of materials, that's something that all the people know, that we are wasting material of the package, plastics that we are wasting, okay? And capacity, okay, of course, something that happens, in my experience, of course, that in other pharmas happen is that there are many cleanings of the machines, of the areas. You have to clean so many times, no, to be secure that these areas don't have any problems of some contamination, something like this. So, of course, what we found on these areas of these main products was that they take so much time cleaning, okay? So much time cleaning. So when you have an opportunity like cleaning, I mean cleaning, maybe I'm going to show you some numbers, but from maybe 30 hours to reduce 6 hours, 5 hours, that give me the capacity, okay? So the tool, here it comes the tool where I can resolve this is SMETA, single minute exchange of dye. So look at, in this area, we have been implementing 16 Kaizen, Japanese word. It means just a project that we are improving with a team, not Juan Jose, no Elliot, with the owners of the process, okay? So during this time, we have been implementing 16 projects of Kaizen using SMET, okay? First, I use it value stream map to identify where I can increase the capacity, and then where I can reduce the cost, and then I have to select what kind of tool is going to help me. And just it's pretty difficult to show. SMET is one of them. Of course, I use it something very simple. 5 S's, pretty simple, but believe me, it helps. That give me capacity. It give me to reduce the cost. Okay, that's another point. Very important in the pharma industry. The supervisors are people who is in charge. They every day. If you ask any kind of supervisor in industry, they will say, "I don't have enough time to maybe to think and improve something." Yeah, I don't have time. No? So something we have to help them is with the first level is yellow belt. They have to be trained, or we train these people in yellow belt. It doesn't mean that they are the best one. No, we are trying to give the tools, and then let's practice on your daily work. Okay, in your daily work to resolve problems. Okay, that's the point. Communication. Somebody, Martin or Maria, say communication. That's a big problem in all the companies. Communication. The only way to resolve this is maybe if you have a system, or maybe if you have meetings. That's the point. What are you going to check in these meetings? Indicators. We have to talk with indicators. I don't have to talk with stories. We have to talk with numbers. Okay. So here starts I would like to say that the culture. It's step by step. Okay, that's a step by step. Something pretty important. Believe me. The owners and the managers tell me. They tell me we don't want to run, Elliot. We don't want to run. We have time to change the company. We have time, but of course I want to results. But that's pretty important. When somebody understands the philosophy, that will help you us so much. Because if you want a result in 1 week, of course, I can send my best team to your company, but it not depends on me. It depends from the people, and the people they are going to do the change of the process. Not Juan Jose, not Elliot. They have to understand, and this is so important. That's so important to be trained on this. Okay, don't say yellow belt, green belt, just continuous improvement. They have to understand the principles of Lean, okay? And then with the heads of the areas, they were trained in green belt. Why in green belt? Green belt in pharma, we have another difficult, very complex problems. Maybe a capsule where you don't have the product, okay? Of million of capsule, 1 or 2, they don't have the product, and you have to check again all the lot of the production lot. Imagine, believe me, this we did one project of this, 30 days again, checking if all the capsules were okay, or one of them were empty again. Okay, so you have different kind of problems, and you need different kind of tools. So, okay, I think we have many problems with the capacity and cost that you have to resolve with other kind of tools. Okay, well, we have been working on these areas. Not all the products, just focus on some products. Then the phase number 3. We started with the support areas. I mean, warehouse, human resources, purchasing, laboratories. No, they have 2 opportunities, and they have to understand how does they work as support areas. And well, yeah, we started some projects in administrative areas, and now we are transferring this model to Colombia. Okay, I think the most successful case of this is being that we have been training the people, and we practice, not just another course. No. It's we practice. We try to understand why you have to do this new process, this new method, or this new way to go with the process. Okay, so well. There's so much behind of these 3 years, of course, believe me, but I really would like to share that, of course, there are resistance. Of course, this is it's not all beautiful. We have the resistant people who doesn't understand the focus, the main result. But don't worry, I think when the people start watching the results, they are going to come to the ship but if not, well, you have to say to escalate this kind of problem. No? When somebody don't want to change, that's a different problem. Okay. Well, then, I'm sorry.
And Elliot, I hate to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that we're conscious of the time. We do want to leave some time for a Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm sure there's going to be some good questions. So I don't mean to cut you off or anything like that. So just
don't worry. Yeah. I'm going to finish just 1-2 slides. As I said, it's a short time, but well, okay, got it. Thank you. Let's just, I would like to share, when you say like value stream map, somebody have an idea of value stream map, don't worry. I say that we have 3 main products, and the point is, how does this product flows over the process? So that's the point where I have to work on, okay? Just 2 for Kaizen, continuous improvement. So this is the road of where I'm going to improve. Not just going to the process and I want to improve. No, it's with a main focus, okay? So pretty interesting. This is what I really like. I'm going to finish with this, okay? So look, I said that the most interesting results we had was about cleaning, okay? Cleaning, just clean. We have disarm machine, wash part machine, wash and sanitize, and assemble the machine. Maybe in the pharma, more or less, this kind of process is working on. So, for example, here in Mexico, we have this product. It calls antifludes. Antifludes is the not saying for me, for Chinoin, for the Mexican government, is the best product to help with the flu or something like this. Okay, so the results with the people and with the correct tools, with the correct guide, with the correct process to improve all this was. The preparation time on all the phases was around 50%. No, in 2002, we were 2021, we were producing like 130 production lots. In 2020, we produced 220 production lots. What it means, and all was sold. Okay, this is not in our warehouse. It was sold, so that's pretty important. We don't increase capacity if we don't go into sell it, okay? That's the point of this. That's the vision that the owners, the direction gave us. So, of course, this is not just with some changes of way we clean, with a mop or with a machine, a different machine. Just an example. There are so much behind to reduce this time, okay? So, believe me, in pharma, we have much opportunity on this types of cleaning, okay? Well, Veronica, if there's no more time, don't worry. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, let's see where the questions take us. There's still some questions left over from Martin's presentation that I put on in the question parking lot. So the first few questions are going to be from Martin, and then anyone who has further questions about this presentation can please enter them in the Q&A. So I'm just going to go back to those 2 questions that we had. One of them was regarding the Gene Planet implementation. The question is from Martin, do you have different swim lanes or any other ways to split different complexity levels?
Yeah, sure, of course. So it kind of depends on which team, which process, because as I kind of mentioned, we have different boards. So it's not going to be the same in every board, and it depends on how much we want to partialize and figure out where is what. And so, for example, in the most complex board where we go through the whole software development process, we use swim lanes as a class of services. So at the top, you will get the critical lane, and then a little bit below that, customer issues, bugs, and then the technical depth, and then the new features, the business features, right? So we can clearly prioritize, and also developers can see what's more critical, where is the bugs that we need to solve, so that we're going to have a clean plate to work on the new features. So this is the swim lanes that we use, but we use different methods to solve the complexity. So swim lanes is one. The second thing is colors. So we use different colors to map different products and team together. So that's why it's clearly visible when you zoom out of the board, but also for people to use filters depending on the color. So everything that's going to be blue is going to be one product, for example. Everything is going to be red is going to be external partners, and so on. So you can clearly figure out, and you can set up your filters when you're working, or when a management wants to quickly see where is what. So the colors in the swim lanes are two things. Another thing is just naming convention. So we always have a fixed naming convention. So you start with, for example, the bio, which means it's going to be in the bio domain, and then a slash, and then the product, and then the slash, and the name of the issue, for example, or the task. And then we do these naming conventions for different things to drill down on that complexity. So that's the third part, the third thing. And then the fourth thing we use is types, or in some software, you're going to have badges. So use badges or little symbols to figure out if something is a bug or a feature or something else, or if it's an improvement, or do we need to do just the review on it, and so on. But of course, the most important part is the flow itself. So the different stages going to have different meaning in where you are. So in R&D department, for example, they're gonna have we have swim lanes depending on different products. So they don't have the critical lane. They basically work product by swim lanes, and then the marketing is gonna have their campaigns as a swim lanes. So it's a little bit different from team to team. I think you're muted, Veronica.
Andrea, I hope that answers the question. We have another question that is specifically, what was your role at Gene Planet? Was your sole role at the time to implement these process improvements via Kanban, or did you have a role outside of these process improvements? Just wondering how you got the time to do all this great work on Kanban.
Thank you. It's far from perfect, but no, my role is a product director, so I oversee all the development of all the products in the company, and that was also my role when I've implemented the Kanban process. And it would be much faster to do it if that would be my sole role. But basically, the first thing as managing the product development was actually figuring out where the waste is and where we have problems, when we have bottlenecks. So I had to do that anyway to be efficient, and then figuring out, should we move to a different framework? So that's where we moved from Scrum to Kanban. And then I basically started with one small team, and for us, this was developers. And we knew that with time, we want to onboard everybody from R&D team to packaging to everybody in the company to the same system. So we started with one small team. As I said, basically talked with the people for 3 to 4 weeks, then had 3 workshops where we first explained what is the lean, what is the agile, what we're working today, what we want to achieve, different ideas people were pitching in. And then we had 2 more workshops to figure out the flows and everything. And then we picked the tool, we set everything up, and started working with 5 people with a small team. And then that took us, I think it was around 5 to 6 months. So if that would be my sole responsibility, I hope I would do that in much less time, but I was doing everything else. So this was 5 to 6 months. And then now it's been a little bit over a year, and we have all the major departments of the company on site. But of course, I had help with other team members as well. It's just not, yeah.
There's one more question that's more technical on the Kanban's side, but maybe you can expand on how you did it. But it's about how you use Kanban to track cycle time, and did you track touch time?
So maybe touch time. I hope, Hadi, you mean that when people touch the task or something like that? I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure either. Maybe we could get some
Yeah, I mean,
clarification,
cycle
but
time, of course, is one of the most important ones, and then you have different ways of basically inputting manually the amount of work that you've spent on some task. You can do that as well. We don't use that feature. So for us, it's mostly when the tasks are automatically moved to another stage or manually moved to another stage. You can clearly see in which stage and who is the owner, who is the responsible people. And then we look at that in different analytics graphs and dashboards. And the cycle time, of course, is one of the important things. And you can set up your cycle time to include different stages. So you can set it up to move it a little bit to fit what you think is the work part of your flow.
okay.
Touch time is the time to actually work on it. Yeah, exactly. That's. I think we kind of answered it right, because the cycle time is usually what you can adjust it how you want, and then you can use the lock time as well, the manual input to put in the actual work time.
Do we have any other questions? There's no questions in the Q&A right now. In the chat, I don't know. Maybe we have some in the chat, but as I warned, we will miss them if they're in there. I'm scrolling through, but you guys have been active. So let's see. Oh, there's a question for Elliot. How do you respond when people say, yes, great theory, but it doesn't work for us because of complexity, priorities, etc.?
If we talk about lean to implement, that's I'm going to answer from this side. When they say it's complexity, it's difficult. Well, it depends what kind of information, what kind of training are you receiving. Okay, normally lean something Six Sigma. It's not new. It's not. We are not proving this methodology, these philosophies. They have many years before. No. Normally, in all my experience, I have been implementing this in different industries. It always works. The point is that they don't understand the value of how the results are going to impact. Okay, so I always say it's very simple. That let's prove, let's experiment. Okay, you will decide if you don't see any result. Okay, let's go back with the all way you're working, but you have to prove. You have to prove. There's no other way, because when you don't understand something, it's normally you're going to say it's very difficult. Okay, but that will be something I can answer. That's something that I always my daily day I'm working on. It doesn't work, Elliot. Okay, I'm going to show you how it works. It's gonna take time, but hey, let's try it. Why not?
That's the attitude. I love that. That's awesome. I think a lot of the things that we've seen in terms of results today through your presentations probably came from the attitude of, oh, you don't think I'll do it? Let me show you how I'm going to. And
yeah,
you have to have confidence.
Yeah. Why not?
Any other questions? We do have 2 more minutes. We have time for one more question. Elliot, what did you do to engage the frontline workers? I have seen a lot of people trained to white and yellow belt that do not change anything in their approach.
Okay, well, yes, yeah, there are many companies that they train the people in yellow belt, but there's an opportunity. If you're going to train people, you have to be sure that they practice this kind of tools, or they have to be invited to any kind, whatever you call a project, a Kaizen, a RDMI project. Invited them to live the change of this process. If you only give the training and you don't secure that they are practicing or they are resolving a small problem, they won't understand. If you give you green, black, it doesn't work. You have to get involved with a problem, and they have to resolve. In fact, yeah, believe me, all the people, they are invited to our projects, of course, of the process, okay? But I always say, if you're going to receive a training, you must practice. If you don't practice, believe me, it will say another course, another information that it doesn't get to me in my work, my daily work, okay? So I think pretty important. I would like to come to Chinoin and see this, how it works. Believe me, the people, they are doing the change, not me, not Juan Jose. It's because the methodology. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, so we are almost at our 90-minute mark. I'm seeing a lot of those like thumb, like applause emojis and the thumb up emojis, which is a really nice like silent way to show appreciation. And now that I've said that, they're just exploding all over the screen. That's really cool. Thank you, dear audience, for being so supportive. That's wonderful. Another amazing way to support us is to fill out the post-event survey that will pop up on your screen at the end of this event so that we can keep doing this and make it better and better. I want to take a moment here to express, on behalf of the entire company, to express our gratitude for our panelists. You guys have been amazing. Your energy is palpable, your professionalism as well. I hope that everyone saw how to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm sure that you would be able to, continue the conversation if someone has specific questions. Some parting words, perhaps, from you, maybe some parting advice.
No, I think from my side, it was really, really pleasurable evening from my part of the world. And from like professional, work perspective and the lean and everything that we've been talking about, for me, the most important was, as I kind of mentioned, is basically first find out where you have your bottlenecks, and this just means talking to people. I think this is the most underrated when people start implementing any kind of improvements, not just lean. You just basically talk with people in charge, and I think Elliot is also saying about this, basically talk with the owners and talk with people that actually do the work, not just managers of managers of managers, and then figure out what do they actually do, because a lot of those people, even if they think they could do the work better, they might not have the capacity. But if you identify what they do and there are small improvements, they cascade to big improvements at the end of the day. So yeah, that's from my side. Thank you again.
Thank you, Martin. I don't know. Well, thank you so much, Veronica, for the invitation. It was so nice to participate with you and share a little experience. I think improvement is my passion. I always say that, as Martin says, it doesn't matter, no? There are different methodologies. The point is to improve the company, improve the way in the area you are. Nothing, I always say, let's try it, and if it doesn't work, well, let's go back to the way we were, no? But it doesn't happen, never happened in my experience, never happened that. I can say that there's always an improvement in our companies. Okay, so thank you so much to all of you, to all the audience. Martin, nice to meet you too, and well, we keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Stay in touch and follow us on LinkedIn so you don't miss out on the next KanConf event. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome evening.
Bye.